Inspiration. Such a demanding thing. Or does it have to be?
You can't make something if you're not consuming something.
Or I create art in ordinariness. One doesn't have to look very far.
Let me say a cosmic phenomenon.
In conversations, ideas come to life.
All of these things can be well springs of creativity.
I want to be able to teach people, inspire people. That's where it all began.
Somehow managed to see an opportunity where others didn't. Get it off the ground, people resonate with it, and it's become its own thing.
They told a story around it, and that's what really inspired me. There's so many possibilities. It's a very big pond, I guess.
Thankful that I got super bored not doing anything, so that made me start putting myself out there. Just be yourself.
Just appreciate everything.
It's All Material. It's a podcast for and by creatives. My name is Aubrey, and I dare say it's all material. Let's get to the nitty-gritty now, shall we? It's All Material! Welcome to the show where we talk about all things creative and the other things that come with it. This podcast aims to show some love to all the artists all over the world. So today I invited a guest who's really close to me, who's been my friend for forever, almost a decade, I guess. And I'm a huge fan of her work. And she has been through a lot in her career and ultimately leading her to become an up-and-coming digital artist and a very talented one at that. Kryzzy, how's everything?
Hello. Yeah, I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for having me.
So I want to start off with a question because I've always been curious, because we've been talking a lot about the stuff that we have in common, of course, because we're both geeks, we're both nerds, and of course we talk about our common friends, but we rarely talk about our art careers. So what I wanted to know more about you is when did all of this start? Even the idea of being a digital artist, when did you realize that this is what you wanted to become?
Well, it all started back in high school when I was 14. I used to have a computer that had Adobe Photoshop, and I started playing around with it, and I kind of enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it all began. I've been drawing since I was in elementary, but my parents weren't really that supportive when it came to materials and all. So I had to
You had to be crafty.
do
Yeah,
something
you had to
about
be
it. And
resourceful.
yeah, I had to be resourceful, right? But I only had pencil and paper. But when I got my own computer and I discovered that I had Photoshop, that's where it all began. That was my pathway to digital art.
I think you're one of those Photoshop OGs. Before Photoshop was cool, you were already doing it. You were already there.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, I think it was Photoshop 7. It wasn't even CS then.
What does CS mean? God, I'm such a noob.
I have no idea.
But they have CS versions of it now, right?
Right. Yeah.
When you download the newest versions.
Mm-hmm.
So also, when you started out, what type of drawings did you do? When you started out with your Photoshop?
I loved anime.
Same.
So all my artworks, even until now, they're all influenced by anime.
Most of the portraits that you do, all of the versions that you do, they're also inspired by your influences, when you were a kid, when you were watching anime. And I think
Right. Yes.
yeah, with the vibe of with your art, it reminds me a lot as well of the 3D animation of Disney. So that also
Mhm.
gives off that kind of vibe. Yeah, I think what my
Yeah.
favorite part about your artworks are the color palettes that you choose. I just love every swatch that you choose. Because I know that you
Oh, thank
have
you.
that acquired taste
Mhm.
when it comes to swatches. Because me, I just dump everything all on a canvas and something I see. Let's just see which one works and which one doesn't. So I'll just top it all off with a white after. So but with you, I know that you really think about your swatches. For you, what makes a great swatch? What makes a great palette?
Well, for me, I know it may sound like I plan things when it comes to color palettes and all that stuff, but what I really do is that when I find a picture that who's good, which the colors I love, really love, I take a picture of that and then take some color samples from that picture. Yeah, that's what I do.
It's a great trick.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys can learn a thing
That's
or
what I
two
do.
from this girl. So that's where you based everything off of. Like when you see something that you like, you just get a sample off of it,
Yeah.
and then that's what you use to paint. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great way. That's like a shortcut. Like rather than finding
Life hack.
yeah, to all of the noobs out there listening, including me, now we know what to do. So if you weren't a digital artist, what kind of work do you think you would be doing?
I'd probably be gaming because I love online games, right?
What game are you playing at the moment?
Well, I used to play Mobile Legends, but I kind of stopped starting when the internet went crazy back here in the province.
Right.
So I kind of stopped for a little bit, but I've been into mobile games for quite some time, ever since I was a kid.
I believe you're so good at them too, because like you're really passionate and very committed. And I remember like sometimes when I chat you up, you'll be all like, "Hey, I'm playing a game. Can we just do this later?"
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, "Okay,
Chat later.
I feel kind of rejected, but priorities.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Kryzzy has her
I remember,
priorities."
yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. What was creative life like when COVID happened? Because you mentioned that recently the internet went crazy, so it kind of stopped you from online gaming. Which kind of relates to what was creative life like when like everything went crazy, lockdown happened last year, and even until now restrictions are still way up top. So how do you feel about the whole situation, like creative wise? Like what kind of space did the pandemic create for you?
It actually gave me an opportunity to get back to drawing.
Mm.
Thinking about it, if the pandemic didn't happen, I probably won't have time to rekindle this passion of mine when it comes to digital art.
Right.
The pandemic kind of, yeah, it kind of forced me to go back to drawing. Buy an iPad, get back to digital drawing.
As soon as you bought that iPad, I was like, so this is when the magic happens. I'm just gonna wait on her stuff, her really good stuff, because I know she's gonna make a lot out of that iPad. It's a great investment, like especially when you're doing what
Yeah.
you're doing, which
Right.
leads us to this question. Since you've already been painting on your iPad for quite
Mhm.
some time, what's your favorite piece? What's your pièce de résistance? Like, what's the artwork that you're most proud of?
Oh God. God, I can't pronounce that.
I'm also like winging it. I actually don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm just winging it. I think like some people who know how to say it will probably correct me afterwards, but I just want it to sound cool.
Whatever.
I know.
Yeah, so the thing or the piece that I'm most proud of would probably be the girl I titled it. I named her Sinag. I don't
Oh,
know if do you remember her?
I do. She's the one with a tropical palette. A
Yes,
lot
yes.
of bright colors on there. It's
Yes.
one of the bright pieces that you made.
Yeah. She was inspired by this specific drink from a restaurant here in Kidapawan. It had the same color palette, and I love it. It was inspired by that, and then
And you took a sample.
I took a sample of it again and used the color palette to draw her. And she was probably my first legit digital artwork. I mean, digital portrait, or yeah. So I'm really proud of her. I'm so happy with how she came out.
That's great. Is she posted on your Facebook page? Can you tell people what your Facebook handle is so that they can follow you and that they can look up all of your works, including Sinag?
Oh, you can find me on Facebook. My handle's Kryzzy Creates, and it's the same handle for my Instagram.
That's awesome. And it's great that you were able to use the same handle for both FB and Instagram, because it's kind of tough like picking up usernames on like social media, right?
Exactly. I got lucky.
Which actually leads me to this next question. Kryzzy, what made you change up the spelling of your name to achieve the artist name Kryzzy? So what's it all about? Can you tell me more? Is there like a story behind it, or just tripping lang, or what was it about?
Oh my god. Well, first of all, I'm not really a fan of my real name, right? I don't want to say it on
We're
air,
not gonna
so
go there,
no.
y'all. And when I edit this out later, I'm saying it.
No,
No, I'm
no,
kidding.
please no. No. Please don't. For the love of God.
I miss it when you say that.
No, stop it.
Before it lays eggs.
Yeah, burn it.
Throw it in the fire, Mr. Frodo. So that's what led you to respell it
Yeah.
and recreate it to
It
Kryzzy.
all began during the Friendster era.
Oh
Wow.
yeah, Friendster. Everybody had
Did you ever
Friendster.
have?
Oh god, my Friendster was so
Oh my
emo.
God, no.
Yeah. No. I'm not gonna.
With all the music and everything.
Yeah, we all embed all
The
our
custom
playlists.
layout. Right. That's where it all began. Because people were changing up their names, right? So I was like, I'm not gonna use my real name. Let me use Kryzzy instead.
That's what people do on Tinder now.
Oh.
Like what they used to do on Friendster, because they used like made up names on Friendster. They use made up names now on Tinder because they don't want people to find out it's them.
Right.
That they're trying to get some hanky panky down the street.
I see you, elder millennials. You used to have Friendster too.
But that name Kryzzy, it stuck all over the years,
Yeah.
and you used it as your artist handle,
Yeah.
which is great. And I love that backstory too. God, takes me back like how many years ago was Friendster?
Yeah.
More than a decade, right?
Right.
Way more than a decade.
Way
I can't even
more.
count it. So
Yeah.
from having like a nostalgic trip down memory lane with Friendster, let's go fast forward. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now in terms of art?
I want to be able to teach other people how to create art, not just digitally but also traditionally. I wanna inspire especially younger people to get back to art, because we're all living the digital age. Everybody's playing games, doing whatever, going on social media. So why not do something creative like drawing? So I want to be able to teach people, share what I know, share my knowledge, share my art, and I I'll be happy if 10 years from now that's what I'll be doing.
That's great. That's actually a great plan. Also, kind of gives you a steady stream of income apart from like having clients. You'll have regular classes as well. So it really does give you the growth that you need for the years to come. And since we're like talking about your art career, I'm also wondering like what other odd jobs you had like in the past that kind of led you to what you're doing now. Because I remember before you mentioned way back when like after college you also worked like as an editor, digital editor. So is that part of the whole journey, like when you started out?
Yeah. Even during college, I used to have a part-time job in. I'm not sure this is this mall still there in Ponciano or near UM Boton. Yeah, I used to work part-time there, doing layouts for. I used to create designs for invitation, business cards, and logos there. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Like you really, you've had like a colorful journey. And when it comes to career, because I also remember that you also graduated computer engineering. Was it computer science? And then afterwards, you took up civil engineering, and which you're also practicing now, and then
Yeah.
you're juggling it as well with your art. And that's just I find that really amazing, that it's kind of like very inspiring for people to not just be one thing.
Exactly.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter how many things they want to be, as long as they can juggle it right. So we can
Mm-hmm.
all be the things that we want to be. And, let's not listen to those people who keep telling us that you can't be this thing because you're already that thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why can't I be both?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why can't
Yeah.
we be both?
For example, in my case, I'm a civil engineer by profession, but also an artist by passion. So that's kind of like a motto. Yeah.
It's having that sort of balance, which keeps you motivated as well and compensated, and also it makes you feel fulfilled at the same time.
Mm-mm.
That's great. And how do you manage like both jobs together? How do you manage your time?
So in the morning, I have a day job. I work 8 to 5, and then um, I mostly do my digital art works at night.
I see.
So yeah, I had to sacrifice other things like online gaming, watching series and other movies. The evenings are reserved for artwork and school because I'm taking up masters in public admin. So yeah.
Yeah, I just remembered now that you mentioned it. Wow. Aside from the fact that I'm also running out of adjectives, but it really is amazing that you can juggle like all those three things at the same time and still stay sane,
Barely sane.
Barely. That's why we're friends.
I'm on the edge.
We're in that fine line between
Right.
between sane and
Yeah.
insane.
It's all about time management, yeah. Because I can be busy throughout the day and at night with school and all that stuff. So finding time to draw is really a challenge for me.
How long does it usually, your mood when you get in the zone, like for until how long do you paint? Do you like take breaks in between, or do you just go full on like 8 hours, 15 hours? I don't care. I want to finish this, because I have days that I'm like that.
Yeah, I get you. I do have moments like that. Yeah, sometimes I can get really like in the mood for it and that I forget what time it is.
Especially when you're in the mood, because it's so hard to get the mood back. It's so hard when so let's say I'm in the mood now. If I don't finish this today, I'm gonna be stuck with this work in progress like for the next couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I do get downtimes like that too. Like that long, even longer. Like a 1 year downtime. No, I don't want that.
I know, right?
So when I'm in the mood, let me draw. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it also requires discipline to be able to,
Yes.
get that output that you're trying to go for. Because you know what I tell myself, right? I think you've heard me say this like a couple of times. Like, and when I put stuff out, I'm like, I don't think I was OC enough. Now that I'm like noticing all of these flaws when I'm like,
Oh my god, yeah.
when I'm there are times that you also fight it, because if I overthink it, it might not turn out the way I wanted it to turn out. And then when I erase it, I'm like, oh my god, I can't get the nose back to how it was. Like, I'm like, I'm totally gonna scratch the whole drawing. Like, you remember that scene from Tangled, the Rapunzel movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, they just can't get my nose right. Like, I get you, bruh. I'm like one of those artists. Okay, so before we end the interview, I have one last question. What is your purpose? Like, what is your why? Why do you do what you do?
For me, it's just because I love drawing, I love art, and I love sharing it with people. And like what I mentioned before, I want to be able to teach people, inspire people with my artwork. So yeah, that's my essence.
That's awesome.
I think that's what happens with creativity. Like, the more you share it, the more people have it. Like, the more people will get something out of it. Like, and then there's more creativity, then they get to create stuff for themselves.
Mm-mm.
And
Yeah.
it's just going to be like a domino.
Yeah.
When someone is creating, and then when that creation, when that art inspires somebody else, that's also going
Yeah.
to help them create their own art. And then when they share it, like everything is just going to be like wildfire. When I have like creative blocks, I just tell myself that if I don't put stuff out, if I don't get creative
Right.
like right now, apart from being, from being stagnant, honing my skills at the same time, like how am I going to inspire people if I don't make stuff? It still gives off that influence, like when we create the stuff that we create. And I think that's what also I'm trying to achieve, like when I'm creating this podcast. I also want others to share their stories, their journey in terms of their art with their music. If they're a writer, like all of the stuff that they write, like what inspires them. So that's one of the things that I'm also going for. And I really thank you for being one of my first few guests. I'm really
Thank
so
you so
I'm
much.
so proud of you. Like,
Oh my god.
yeah, like all these years we both have been geeking out on each other's art, and now I get to geek out for rails. And I'm just so glad to have had you in the show, and I hope I can have you back.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And I hope that to everybody listening right now, if you want to pursue art, if you want to talk about your journey creative wise, just hit me up, DM me. I'm Aubrey DS, and this podcast is called It's All Material. And Kryzzy, can you remind everybody again what your Instagram and Facebook handles are?
My Facebook page is Kryzzy Creates, ARYZZY, and creates, and it's the same for my Instagram handle at Kryzzy Creates.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. And I hope to have you here real soon.
Thank you for having
and
me.
thank you to everybody listening right now. Don't forget to follow Kryzzy on her socials. This is Aubrey, and you're listening to It's All Material. New episode every Thursday at 7 p.m.